Hello there, campers. Welcome to Roger's Repair Shop. I'm Gerald. This is
Roger Henderson.
Roger of Roger's Repair Shop here on Camp Akita, and we are going to show you all today how to change a tire. So, Roger,
Yes,
talk to us. What are some of the first steps in changing a tire?
That's a really good question. The first step would be to make sure your car is off the side of the road and you're in a safe place. And then you want to make sure that you put your car in park if it's an automatic. If it's a transmission type or manual transmission, you'd want to put it in first gear. And then you'd want to find something to put under a tire on the opposite side of the flat. Okay, so that would be the first steps.
Okay, so even balance is important.
Even balance is for it. It keeps the car from rolling forward if it falls off the jack for whatever reason. Some cars have actually flipped.
Really?
Because they lift the car too high and there's nothing to stop it from going on over.
Oh, wow.
So you always want to chalk one of your tires on the opposite side.
Gotcha. Okay, so then what?
The next thing we need to do is make sure that we have all the parts that we need to change the tire.
Okay.
So in this vehicle, it's a 2016 Honda Pilot, is our tire and equipment is all in the back. But you may find your spare tire in the front of your car, because that's where your trunk is. You may find it in the middle of your car. So you need to look at your owner's manual so you know where your spare tire is. And I would say, the best time to practice is at home. It's a lot easier that way. That way you know where all the parts are and take care of it.
Probably before you have an actual flat tire.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, you don't want to have a flat tire and then have to practice.
For sure.
You'll be sitting on the side calling AAA.
Exactly. All right.
So, shall we get started and find the parts?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to start by opening up the trunk and find out what's in here. Okay. A nice clean trunk.
Nice and
Man.
clean. That's how you want it.
You'll also notice that I do carry emergency gear here in the vehicle. That's always a good thing to do. You never know when you're going to need it. So I'm going to reach in here and look, no spare tire. So where'd it go? Well, down at the very bottom down here, there's a little plug. It says spare tire. It's got an arrow on it. So Jared, I'm going to have you run that around to the front tire on the right side and just put it in the front. Okay, while he's doing that, you'll notice I pulled my key out because I have found that this little tag I can't do with my fingernails. Okay, so I got to pop this up. Oh, now I ended up with a plug. So now what do I do? Well, you pull that plug. Oh, and now I've got a square little nut there. Now what am I going to do with that? Well, that there tells me that my spare tire is underneath the vehicle. It's on a cable. Okay, and I'm going to have to crank that down, drop the tire in order to get the spare tire down. Something very important, you need to exercise that every once in a while, because if you don't, it's going to lock up, it's going to rust, and you won't be able to get your spare tire down.
Now, exercising meaning what?
Exercising means that you'll drop the spare tire, you'll crank it back up, and you'll drop it down a couple times. Do that a couple times a year, and that'll keep that loose.
Got it.
Okay. So my tools are over here. Let's see if I can pull this off. All right. So in here, I just pulled this off the side of my trunk here. It's got an emblem called jack, and here are my tools. So I'll pull that out, and they provided me all the tools I need to take this tire off. Okay, so I'm going to put this on. Now, if you look at the bottom, and I can tell there it's hit bottom now because it's gotten really loose. So I can pull this off. Here's my spare tire. And inside there, of course, this always requires you to get a little dirty. And there's my spare tire. You can definitely tell I've been on the gravel roads. But before we go any further, we want to make sure we've got air in that spare tire. Again, when you exercise your spare tire crank, you should check the pressure on this.
Pressure there too. Okay.
And otherwise, it won't do any good. You have another flat on a flat.
It's true.
Okay, so we'll run that off to the side here. And now we know, yep, make sure that you got your jack. So now I've got all the parts I need. A spare tire, I have a jack crank, and a lug nut wrench. Okay. So to begin with, you can turn this by hand. And underneath your car, there is a special place where this jack needs to fit. And I don't know if you can show that on here or not, but if you feel underneath here, you'll feel an indentation. Sometimes they just put little slots there that shows you where that jack is supposed to go. If you try to jack it up in any other place, you can do damage to the vehicle. And the jack's not stable. So you can just crank this right up until you reach that point. All right, so once you've made contact, just hook that in there like that, and then you want to loosen your lug nuts actually before you lift the car. And the reason we do that is that way you're not trying to spin the tire and you're not moving the car back and forth on the jack.
Okay, so the lug nuts are the nuts on the outside of the tire, yes?
Okay, these are the lug nuts, and there are 5 of them on this vehicle. Some only have 4 and some have 7. Okay. And another rule that we need to learn is that when you're tightening and loosening bolts, it's always lefty, righty, lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. Okay? So if you turn your lug nut to the left, it's going to be loose. If you turn it to the right, it's going to get tighter.
Got it.
Okay? Okay? So you see it takes a lot of strength to actually do that. They've made these so that you can actually stand on these lug nuts. You're only going to go about half a turn, or just let it drop to the center there. So all you're doing is loosening them so that you don't have to rock the vehicle later on. Alright, so they're all loose now. So now we can come back. We'll just hook this into our wrench here. And we start to crank.
That's lifting the car off the ground.
Yeah, we want to get it, usually when you have a flat, of course this tire isn't flat, but usually when it's flat, then it's a lot lower. So you want to lift that so that your tire is going to be about an inch, inch and a half to 2 inches off the ground.
Okay.
So you can get your new tire on. Okay. So right now you can tell that there's nothing underneath it. It's all off the ground.
Nice.
All right. All we're going to do then is just take these all off. Okay, make sure you set these down on the same place so that you don't end up losing them. It's nothing worse than putting your spare tire on and somehow you've lost the lug nut. Set that off to the side, and it comes right off.
Simple as that.
Yep. Lay that down, and then we go to put our new one on. All right. So when you put this on, you want to make sure your air stem is facing out.
Okay.
Of course, you've got your pressure in there because you've been checking it. This is 60 psi. You can read that or not. So that's what you keep this aired up at. Now, when it comes to pressure in your tires, these tires have only got about 32 to 34.
Yeah.
Okay, and we know that we need to have that because in your front door, okay, it's located right here on your B post. That's an A post, this is a B post. It'll tell you what the pressure is supposed to be on your front tires and your rear tires. And so this one reads 32 psi. Okay, so that's what you want to keep those at. Okay. But your spare tire is going to be at 60.
Is there a reason why that's the case? Why that's so much more?
This is a temporary tire. It's designed to only go about 50 to 60 miles. In other words, just enough to get you to some safety and get the tire changed. So that's the way it's designed.
Got it.
So when you go to put this back on, little trick, you slide this up underneath, that lifts it in place, and you can rotate it. Should rotate it the other way. Want to keep your toes away from the underneath. Okay, and that goes on. You put your foot there, but don't put it underneath. Okay, when you go to put these back on, these are the lug nuts. Put them on the studs. Just hand tighten it. Okay, and you should always get in the habit of using what we call a star configuration when putting bolts back on and tightening them. So that means that if I start here, I'm not going to go here or here, I'm going to go across from it. Okay? And you may be asking, well, why do we just do a star configuration? Well, we do a star configuration so that when we're all done, all of our lug nuts are at the same tension on the wheel. So when you're driving down the road, it doesn't loosen up on you. Okay, so we're not going to try to do a crank or anything like that. We're just going to go down so it's snug. You see, I went across, I didn't go to the next one. Okay, and once those are all snug down, just one more time. All right, now we can come back and we can lower the jack. If you want to save yourself some headaches in the future too, this bolt right goes through here. This is what they call a scissor jack. Grease that up every once in a while.
It makes it a little bit easier to turn?
It will make it easier to turn. It'll keep it from getting rusty.
Got it.
Even though it's sitting in your trunk, it does get humidity in there and it can rust. So once everything's loose, then everything will be done with hand. Alright, so we've got that all the way down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten our lug nuts for a final tightening. Okay?
Because now it has the pressure of the whole car on it?
Yep. All your weight's on there. Your car's not jerking back and forth. You're off the jack, so you're not having the issue of it falling off the jack. And yep, you can actually stand on these. But you don't want to just get on them and do like a jump, because you can actually break those studs off.
I was going to say, can you over tighten them?
You can, and I've done it a couple times.
Yep.
Yep. Just
still going in that star formation?
going in star formation. Always go in star formation. Get in the habit of doing that when you take things off, when you put things on, and that way you'll have what they call muscle memory.
Sure.
And when you get on the road, you don't have to go, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? You just know. All right, and there you go. Then of course you're going to put all your equipment back in the back and drive to the nearest service station and get yourself a new tire.
Hope you take good care for it.
There you go.
Very
That's
good.
how you change a tire.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Roger. Appreciate your time. Thanks for showing us how to do that. Hopefully you guys learned something from it. And the next time you have a spare or have a flat tire, you'll know what to do.
And thank you.
All right. See you guys soon. See you in the next one.